to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
me, I'm Rob. A happy New Year, guys.
Yes, and I hope it was all of your guys' New Year's resolution to hit the subscribe button on Two Giant Goofballs YouTube page here, guys. We continue our streak here of getting this close, getting 1,000 subscribers there on YouTube. So we got a big show here for you guys here. So let's be honest. Usually we would do on Wednesday, we do a preview of the Giants' upcoming game. But let's be honest, no one cares. No one does. We're not going to hide it. No one cares. We could not care less. We're going to watch it because we're fans, but we do. But we don't care too much on the outcome as long as we lose. Don't mess up the draft pick even further.
Put up the stats, lose the game.
Yeah, you can make it a close loss.
Yeah, give Malik his record in. Give him his what he needs. Give Tracy what he needs as well.
Lose by 1 point. I'll be happy. That'd be perfect.
Yes, perfect. Don't pull last year.
Or any year, basically. Every year we get close to the first.
Yeah.
Just mess this up. So, but we're going to go over a little bit on the game. There's some big news did come out today. We're also going to talk about a couple of quarterbacks that might be available via trade. That is weird, and I never thought I'd say with these two at this point. But here we are. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
And guys, we did a mock draft for you guys last episode and got a lot of positive feedback from it. But one thing that was asked was, what if we traded down instead of staying at 4? So we're going to give you that option. Let's go look at the option of trading.
Yeah, I like options.
Exactly. Everyone likes options. Everyone does.
Sometimes I can't have too many options because then I pick too much. I'm like,
Yeah. And there's also
do I want the
quarterback.
papaya? Do I want the filet? Do I want the ribeye? Do I want this? Yeah.
Ooh, I like the food options you're going with. You know what I had today actually for dinner just now, right before we came on? Yeah, have you heard of the new craze going around? It's a little viral. It's called the sushi bake, which makes no sense, I know. Yeah, sushi bake. So what you do is you get a casserole.
Am I old?
You put the rice at the bottom.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I didn't know it's called sushi bake.
Yeah, it's called a sushi bake. Oh my god, is it good? We had it. It's freaking.
So wait. All right, let's be foodies real fast, and then get back to the football. Rice, real fast. Rice.
Yes, regular rice with rice vinegar and sesame seed oil at the bottom. You got the salmon that you have to pre-cook because it's not going to be in there long enough. The bake part with some K-rab. You know what that means? Fake crab.
Me.
And then you put that stuff together with some sriracha sauce, mayonnaise, and you put that at the top, and then you bake it, and then you put a little yum sauce and more sriracha sauce with some scallions and some sesame seeds. Oh my gosh!
Tip time.
The seaweed wrapper thing, the chip ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just put it on top of that if you like that.
Put it on top. Layer it in there as you bake it.
No, because it won't bake right. It'll get soggy.
So you have to send me the recipe.
Okay, just look up sushi bake. Comes right up. It's going crazy viral right now. So anyway,
kids these days. Anyway, let's talk some food.
We're going to go over something else you guys asked for as well. A lot of people asked us to give our thoughts and opinions on Jaxson, the quarterback from Ole Miss. So we're going to go over some thoughts on him as well. And like I said, guys, we're going to keep it nice and simple, cut and dry. Tomorrow, heads up, barring any big news, we've been kind of leading this for a little bit. People have been asking for this episode. Tomorrow, we will go over GM candidates if we fire Joe Schoen. And what's crazy is
Talking
Giants just got in trouble for suggesting they fire Joe Schoen. We're giving you replacement.
Just got in trouble. They only put up how many times this week? Should we fire Joe Schoen? Here, I'm going to cheers you with some sparkling water.
I got some Winter Jack.
I drank a little too much of Jefferson Reserve last night into this morning, which was also closer to 5 a.m.
Here we go.
So I'm cheers you with some water, bud.
On that note, guys, also before we get started, Happy New Year to you all. Today is New Year's for those who are watching live here on the program. So hope you all had a good, fun, safe evening last night. As I was staying at home on my couch, hugging my dog that was shivering with fear from all the fireworks here, because Florida is like different than most places. Like up Jersey, New York, I know I know you guys can get fireworks now up there, I think, right? So
yeah, well, they backyard ones now, but people always get fireworks over here. Are you kidding me?
I'm saying, you go to Florida, I'm telling you, man, it's like New Year's, like every single house is shooting them off. It's insanity. It's
my neighbor was shooting them off, and it sounded like gunshots going next door.
Yeah, that's what we just had that again tonight because they
luckily you said you're holding your dog. Luckily, like Adonis is my guy, is typically afraid of that stuff, but he's also getting old and he's still getting hard of hearing, so he wasn't that affected.
No, my 90-pound Roddy mix was definitely freaking out. So
yeah.
All right, guys, let's get into football talk. Get up a salmon bake and New Year's and fireworks and cuddling dogs.
Festive.
It's a festivus for the rest of us. So today we found out the news we've been wondering for a little while here. The Eagles are set to rest their players here against the Giants in the final game of the season, the final showdown here.
And it's the final countdown.
Now, one of the big things was, is Saquon going to go for the record? Is Saquon going to beat the record against the Giants, which would have been a great storyline for him and a horrible storyline for Joe Shane, as I'm sure you guys have seen all over social media, the comments that he said on Hard Knocks being played over and over and over again. But we have dodged that embarrassment bullet. We still have now that brand new bullet that are potentially losing to the backups of the Eagles.
Well, I mean, I said it last week. We've talked about it too. This is like a preseason game what we're going to be watching.
Yep. I mean, I'm hoping to see some of the guys that we don't see very often. Honestly, I think beginning to end, Jalen Hyatt should be in the game. I think you should see a good amount of guys like Bryce Ford-Wheaton. I think it's also a good time to call up a certain Turbo.
It's Turbo time. We haven't done that forever.
Well, I'm just saying, like, there's certain guys that we've been sitting on all year long. And don't get me wrong, I'm not making it seem like we have a stacked roster and talent is just everywhere, but we're just letting some guys sit on the bench because of that kind of stuff. But you're going to have some decisions to make at the end of this year. And you want to have some kind of evidence to know what to do or not to. And if Jalen Hyatt, hypothetically, we use him as the example because I think he's one of the bigger decision maker kind of guys right now. If Jalen Hyatt cannot perform against backups,
he should probably be somewhere else.
You can't. Well, it's not even that. Like, he's on a rookie deal. You want to hold on to him, put him at the bottom of the roster. That's one thing. But you got to look at it from the perspective of, I can't count on this guy to be a big part of my future, which also means I really need to re-sign Darius Slayton.
100%.
So, because he wants to be a Giant, guys. He does. Unless there's something we don't know behind closed doors, obviously that is possible.
No, he has been hands down like the dude on Giants Twitter, on everything, fighting for all players.
Saquon was last year as well. We all know now that he didn't want to be there and the Giants didn't want him there. So again, there's things behind closed doors we never know.
Yeah,
that's life, But like I said, we are going to be having to deal with the fact that there's going to be backups, which means there's a good also likeliness that we could win this game, which I really, really don't want to do. Again, I want to lose by like 1 point. I want to lose like,
I don't want to blow it.
Like on a goal line stance to win the game that we don't succeed in. Like that kind of, like, I don't want to be embarrassed in this game. I'm tired of being embarrassed by the New York Giants this year. Okay, like anywhere I go, people see a Giants hat, people see a Giants shirt, and I'm getting people talking trash to me at this point. That's how bad it's gotten. When Dolphins and Buck fans are talking trash to you, you know you got it bad.
I mean, at least, honestly, they're winners.
Well, no, not really. They've, Bucks. You can say the Bucks won two Super Bowls in the last 25 years or so, but you can't say.
You're talking about rings. You're just
rings.
I'm talking about.
If you,
I hear what you're saying, but if you
don't need a thing,
but if you go into the playoffs, it does mean a lot.
Playoffs.
It's about to win a game.
All right. Well, let's get into the next topic here, and we got two topics here for you about quarterbacks that might be available via trade. that just seems crazy. Now, we've mentioned this first one here a little bit during the show because people have asked the questions in the comments section. And it's popping up more and more and more and more. And what's popping up is, should the Giants and could the Giants trade for JJ McCarthy? And the story is not going away, guys, because Sam Darnold is still been very good for the Vikings this year. JJ McCarthy's had to go in, from what I heard, from an extra surgery during his recovery time period. So they're kind of, not so sure about when he's going to be ready. But it's also like, you've been wanting to win for how long? You have a chance to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Not the NFC North, the NFC.
Yeah. No,
and you're
straight up.
Like, yeah. Like, if they win this game against the Lions this week, that's where they're at. And you're going to potentially get rid of the quarterback that led you there after 1 year. Like, I can understand how that looks insane. I could also understand how somebody could sit there and say, well, yeah, but he's got Justin Jefferson and he's got, all these different talented guys, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, all these guys around him that are a lot of talent, and a defense that's playing absolutely elite this year. So is it him or is it the team around him lifting him up? And either side has valid points to it. I'm not even here to debate that part of it. Either side has valid points to it.
It does. And especially because, like, look at what they did with quarterbacks last year.
Yeah.
So.
And that was without JJ McCarthy. I'm sorry, without Justin Jefferson for much of the season there.
Yeah.
And that was with the defense not being nearly as good as it is here. So, like I said, I think that you look at this, you can see why the Vikings would want to keep him.
Yes. It's like, it's very conflicting because, like, obviously, Sam Darnold's like, he's the guy that got you here. Like, JJ did not play.
Yeah.
JJ is also way cheaper.
Yes,
you're gonna keep him for a while. And a lot younger. So to have him sit behind this guy that's leading your team the way you want this team to, like, play before, like, isn't the worst thing. Well, as a Giants fan, listen to this. I like what I'm hearing. I just don't like who they're talking about. Like, I like the idea of, like, maybe we should look elsewhere besides the draft. Like, if we're going to fall behind, like, we're going to talk there. Like, I like the concept. But
and that's if they're thinking it. Just for the record, we haven't heard anything from the Giants of saying that whatsoever. This is all people just speculating because they're seeing what are they going to do with JJ McCarthy, and
yeah, I think there's multiple things I think about JJ. Like, one, I don't think he's worth the draft capital we're going to have to spend on him. Two, I also don't like, we didn't like him that much coming out of the draft last year. No. Yes, he got a national title. Good for him. Kudos. Not a lot of quarterbacks do that. Yeah. But what was the point of getting rid of Saquon to get a quarterback that's going to hand the ball off?
Yeah.
Like, but here's good.
But here's what it is from the Vikings standpoint specifically. You got a couple of things to look at. You got A, are they going to keep Darnold? And then B, if they decide to keep Darnold, would they get rid of JJ McCarthy for, let's be honest, for his own sake?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's,
you got 50-50 they keep with Darnold or they go with JJ McCarthy. And then you got a 50-50 on that. So we're talking about like a 25% chance just based on averages that they'd even look to go ahead and move on from JJ McCarthy. So I don't think this is a very likely scenario. But again, it's being talked about. So here's the problem you run into with this. Twofold. One, you mentioned a minute ago, you don't want to give up a lot to get JJ McCarthy if that's the case. You try selling to your fan base that you just drafted a guy in the first round and you're going to get rid of him for a third round pick the next year. That's where you're at.
There's probably going to be more ads for JJ.
But he was the 10th overall pick last year.
Yeah.
You're not going to get him for a second round pick or a third round pick.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
You're going to have to give up a first round pick.
Or you're going to give him like 2 second rounds. Like you're going to have to pull up some kind of finagle, but like most likely it's a first round.
Enough. I'm telling you right now. Yeah. A guy you just spent a 10th overall pick on. You can't get 2 second rounds back and sit there and say that's a win for your franchise. Because here's the other option. Again, if they trade him, It's to do right by JJ McCarthy, and I'll actually applaud them if they do that, because that's what they're trying to do in that case. But why would they have to do that? Yeah. You can let him sit and be the backup. You can let him go ahead and learn. And then let's say hypothetically you're worried that Darnold is not going to be the same Darnold next year. Well, you have your insurance policy right there sitting in the wings, because his cap number, if you look at his cap number, next year is going to be $5 million. Year after that, $6 million. Year after that, $7 million. You don't have to go crazy about getting rid of him. It's the money's not that high. We're paying Drew Lock $5 million this year.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason I don't think it's going to happen, because if I am the Vikings, I'm holding on to JJ McCarthy for dear life. And I'm going to sit there and say, you know what? We're going to tag Darnold. And this, I would do the same if I tagged him or didn't, for the record. But if I was the Vikings, I would tag Darnold. I would make him prove one more year that he can do this. And I would have JJ sitting in the wings. And you know what? If Darnold does it again, then okay, maybe you have a conversation with JJ. Say, listen, you had surgery the first year, you got healthy year 2. We're not going to hold you back. What would you like to do? Would you like to stay here and see how things progress, or would you like to move on? Because it's a good PR move. And again, this is all done behind closed doors with agents. And you know what agents love to do? They love to freaking talk. They do it for a living. And they're going to sit there and they're going to know what's going on at that point. And they're going to, discuss, hey, you're talking about going to the Vikings? Well, guess what the Vikings did to Sam Darnold? Just heads up. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of move. Or reverse. Hey, you're talking about the Vikings? Great organization. I heard about what happened to Darnold. He wanted out. He was being blocked by Darnold. And,
JJ.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, these are the conversations these guys have. You know, and it's a good move for the organization to do it that way. But again, I don't think this is the offseason you do that. And I think you got to make sure that you didn't catch lightning in a bottle with Darnold, because that's possible. We've all seen it.
It happens a lot. And typically, like, when players like Darnold come back, I mean, he pretty much did a Mayfield, and he became a new quarterback after not playing good for a while to a new team. He came and he's playing great. Granted, like, he's probably doing Mayfield way better than Mayfield at this point, because let's be real, like, you get that many wins, it's kind of hard to say otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the weird thing. So we've had guys that have had 1 year and then fall on their face, but not necessarily to the extent that Darnold's gotten. Unless you want to include Elvis Gerback, who has had a great year with the Chiefs, but he went the next year over to the Ravens the year after they won the Super Bowl, and they ditched Trent Dilfer. So, but again, I don't know. That's, to me, I'm not making that move on Minnesota, especially if he's going for additional surgeries, and there's all kinds of questions on his availability next year, potentially, at least for the beginning. Like, why would you bite yourself like that when you don't have to worry about money-wise? He's not expensive. Yeah. I'm holding on for dear life as long as I can, because I want to know it, and I want to have a backup plan in case Darnold isn't Darnold next year.
Yeah, because what are they going to come to this draft with at this point, like a high 20s pick, and like, we're getting a quarterback?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, let's say hypothetically, if they go ahead and get a second first round pick and they build up a team a little more, and get another good player, hypothetically, in this scenario, regardless if it's the Giants or somebody else, yeah, you got an extra pick. But now let's say if Darnold isn't the same as he is this year, next year, you have nobody to back him up that you can legitimately say, okay, here we go. Throw this guy in there. He's good. This was the plan anyway originally.
Yeah.
You don't have that anymore. Like I said, that's why I just don't think it's going to happen, personally.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. We have another quarterback to talk about that might be available via trade. Now, this one, we said 25% for McCarthy. This one's probably less. To be very frank with you guys. So Nick Wright of Fox Sports suggested that the Patriots, this is crazy, may draft Shedeur Sanders, then trade Drake Maye, look to draft Travis Hunter with the picks from that trade, and then get Deion Sanders to come in as the head coach. So the question is, will Drake Maye be traded?
I think that's a lot of
would you want Drake Maye?
It's a lot of hopes and dreams from a Patriots fan, right?
A whole lot of hopes and dreams. I look at his numbers this year. So 66.8 completion percentage, 2,276 yards, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, an 88.3 QB rating. And that's in 12 games, 11 of those are starts.
I was about to say.
And one of those starts, he barely even threw the ball. Like, he really had like 10 and a half games basically altogether.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah, you're talking about a guy who's on pace to, if he was playing the whole season, hypothetically, being in the 20s in touchdowns, be over 3,000 yards. That's not a bad offensive year, especially for a guy who didn't start the whole season like that. Like I said, he's
a rookie.
You usually get better as you progress on through, so you learn some stuff along the way.
Yeah, a rookie and a bad team this year. Let's call it is. Like, they're like the Patriots defense is kind of, I guess, the better part of this team, but it's not saying much.
It's also there's no weapons around Drake Maye, which is why you think they would just go ahead and take Travis Hunter no matter what, basically.
But you are very famous to saying that good quarterbacks make the players around them look good.
They do, but you still need some help for a young quarterback, you know?
Yeah.
But you look at like let's say, for example, if Drake Maye was coming out this year instead of last year, or if Shedeur Sanders came out last year instead of this year, either scenario, there's no way that Drake Maye is not getting drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Like, am I crazy for saying that? Like, if Drake Maye was coming out this year, as he had last year, he's probably a higher prospect than Shedeur Sanders.
That's fair, and he's already proved himself in the NFL. Not saying he's proved himself very well, but you know what you got at least.
So why would you then trade away a guy who is probably better? Like, unless you're just thinking that you can get Shedeur Sanders with Travis Hunter, and that's a better combo to get than Travis Hunter and Drake Maye, because you're going to get the coach like Deion Sanders. Is that the whole key to this whole thing? Like,
you just signed Mayo last year.
Well, they're talking about him to be gone. That's a lot. There's a lot of rumors of that one in the Patriot land there that he's going to be gone. That they want to go a little later than Mayo this year, apparently.
Well, I mean, he just signed there, so it's like I hear what you're saying, but like he also just signed there. Like, talk about like
trust
the cooch.
He's probably gone. I'm telling you that right now for a fact. Like, he's had some Joe Judge moments at the podium. That's what this is all about. Like, he's thrown his some coordinators under the bus and stuff like that. Trust me, he is probably gone.
I'm not the expert with the Patriots. I just
I don't pretend to be an expert either. If anybody's a Patriot watching this, feel free to put in the comments section, you know, what your thoughts are on that. If I'm wrong or if he's definitely getting another year, but from everything I hear, then he's potentially out. And if you had to bet on it, you'd bet on him being out. And that's part of where this came into play, you know. But again, Nick Wright is kind of known for saying some crazy stuff. He's kind of like the Skip Bayless, so to speak, of Fox Sports. Now that Skip Bayless is gone.
Touche.
You know, and it just that's what this is all about. And boy, we're kind of buying into it right now by talking about it. But it's a crazy thing. It's a little intriguing. It's an out of the box suggestion there. So we'll talk about it. But I don't think there's a shot in hell that the Patriots move away from a guy who has had a good rookie season to get a guy that you have no clue what you're getting out of because you want his dad as a head coach. I had dad, by the way, who's already said I like to stay in college.
Yeah.
I don't see. And don't be wrong. He wanted to stay at Jackson State too and came. I mean, things happen, obviously. You know, money gets thrown around and things happen, but I don't see that happening personally. I'm not saying impossible, but I'm going to say 99% sure it's not going to happen. Probably a safe ratio.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, all righty, guys. We're going to go over. So we have a little fun always whenever we do, but you guys asked for us to do a mock draft for the trade down. And oops, I hit the wrong button there. That's the right button. You guys were asking for us to do a mock draft with the trade down. And we had put the one up yesterday. That was just a regular old mock draft at 4, and everybody kept on saying, I want to trade down. I want to trade down. So, guys, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the option for trading down from 4. We did it in a mock draft simulator, as we always do, because I wanted to have it at least somewhat legit, even though I got my qualms about those things sometimes. But I thought this seemed like a legitimate option for at least a return. I'm not sure if this team would want to trade with it necessarily, but I thought it was a legitimate trade option, and I could see it happening. So we got a trade where we're at 4. We're giving up pick 4. We're giving up pick 244, which is our second 7th round pick that we have there. And we're getting back 18, 50, 82, and a 2nd round draft pick next year. That's a good return at that point, I think.
I think so.
And I don't think it's unrealistic. They're swapping ones, and you're getting back a 2, a 3, and next year's 2.
Yeah, and then like you want to talk about a rebuild, that's how you do it. We've talked about this numerous times. You do it through the draft, and now you got a lot of capital in the draft.
Yeah,
and like granted, it's not a top 5 pick, but you're talking about like you find a lot of studs in the 2nd round.
That you do, and this is that draft too. This is that draft where we talked about it. There's not going to be that much difference between the 1st round and the 2nd round. This is one of those drafts, and especially if you're talking, mid to late at that point. So it's going to be kind of personal opinion on what you really like and what you really need is what it's going to end up being all about.
Yeah.
So we're trading with this now. It's going to be with the Seattle Seahawks, by the way. That's the ones who made this trade with us here. And you're going to find there may be a team that wants somebody that's in that 1st round. So we're going to get right into that. But before we do, guys, if you haven't already, do me a favor. Hit that like. Hit that subscribe. Appreciate that in advance. We don't want to harp on it, but we're on a quest for 1,000 subscribers, guys. If you can help us out, it'd be very much appreciated. All right. First up.
Should we pay the bills?
No, we're going to go right into the thing. We're paying the bills later.
All right.
We're already in the mid segment.
All right.
So first up, we're going to go with pick number 18. This is our pick that we got from the Seahawks in that trade. And we're going to go ahead and take Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama. And what we're doing here, guys, point blank, is we're doing what we've been saying we need to do all this offseason, all this regular season, all the last 5 years, it seems like. We're going to build up the trenches here. Because we're not in a place where we can say that. We've said all along our offensive line is an issue. Especially the interior offensive line. We have a situation where our defensive line is horrendous, minus Dexter Lawrence. So we're going to start building these trenches up with these picks here. So Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama. Bleacher Report says, overall, Booker is a powerfully built guard with commanding play strength, power, and tone-setting demeanor, who can get manipulated out of position when isolated against high-end rushers, but will solidify the pocket against the bull rusher and dish out. So yeah, we got a guy here that point blank. Listen, not a perfect prospect. You don't get that in 18th overall, but you got a big bully guard. We need one at the right guard position here coming up here because Greg Van Roten is either not going to stay, or if we sign him for the year, listen, guys, he's getting up there in age. He's a guy that you don't know how much longer you got him for. And now you're getting a top-end interior offensive lineman in this draft, a position that, let's be honest, even if, let's say, we sign Greg Van Roten, we still need depth at. We can't you can't have the Josh Azudus of the world here being a main backup offensive lineman for us, guys.
Yeah.
But I think this is a guy that would develop into a day one starter for us. I think he's that good. Would he have some issues? As we said, and right there, he has some issues against high-end speed guys. You don't get as many high-end speed guys from the defensive tackle position when you're a guard. You do get them sometimes. Yeah. But what I'm saying is it's a different thing than when you hear that for a guard than when you hear that for a tackle. There is a major difference, guys. We also have now our second pick here. Pick number 35. This is our second round pick, and we're going with Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Like I said, guys, we are building up the freaking trenches here. Bleacher Report says, overall, Nolan has all the tools to be a starter within his first 2 seasons in the NFL and has Pro Bowl, All-Pro potential down the line. Schematically, he's fairly versatile as someone who can line up as a 3 technique at even fronts or play as a 4-eye technique at odd fronts. So what I'm doing here, guys, is we're getting someone who is a guy with a high upside, a guy who can come in right off the bat and provide you something, but has high upside overall, and a guy who has scheme versatility, which is something I love in players overall. That's what I want. I want someone who can move around this defense because the defense moves.
Yeah.
Plus, we don't even know who's going to be our coordinator next year. If we fire Dable, it might be a whole new coordinator. If we don't fire Dable, then next year we could have a whole new coordinator, depending on what happens with this Giants team. And this a scheme versatility is something we should be looking at. Now, if we keep Joe Shane as our GM and we keep Dable as the head coach, they're going to probably draft more people that fit directly into their schemes. And that's part of why I don't want to keep these guys. It's a whole other topic and a whole other day there. But
yeah,
here's a guy that can come in and, like I said, move around the defense and provide something for you right off the bat and has, like I said, a high upside kind of guy. Round 2, pick number 50. This is the pick we got from Seattle in that trade. And we're doubling down, guys. Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Bleacher Report says overall, Grant's size and strength should help him at least be a good 2-down interior defensive lineman in the NFL. He also has some scheme versatility, allowing him to line up as a 2-eye technique in even fronts or a 2-gapping nose tackle in odd fronts. Now, he's a different guy than Nolan. Nolan is that guy that's got the full versatility of a defensive tackle. Kenneth Grant is one thing we've been lacking very much this year, especially with Dexter Lawrence being out of the lineup. He is a big body, run-stopping defensive tackle. That's what he is. You're going to bring him out. I'm telling you this right up front. If we get this guy, you're going to bring him out of an obvious passing down. He's not your guy you keep in 3rd and 18. That's not what he is. But you know what we got? We got Elijah Chapman, who is the perfect guy to swap him out for. So you get your big body that's there to stop the run, take on blocks, and allow the defensive line to actually control that line of scrimmage. That's something we are surely missing. And I would love to have. By the way, wasn't there a guy we drafted that was like a big defensive tackle that people said couldn't rush the passer? We got him in the 1st round, I believe. What was his name again? Oh, yeah, Dexter freaking Lawrence. You have no clue what you get sometimes out of these players until you get an NFL coach on there. And a guy like Andre Patterson, who's known for developing talent, now has 2 second-round defensive tackles to build up that defensive line. And like I said, I know some people are going to tell me that I'm crazy for that, because it seems weird to double down, but that is such a big position for need. Now, I'll say this up front. There is one spot I really wanted to draft here, and I couldn't. There was nobody worth the picks, and I'm not going to reach. And that was corner. I really wanted to get a corner early. There was no good corners where I was at. And that's what it boils down to. I'm not going to reach. I would rather go get some guys in free agency and spend the money there than reach. And in reality, you shouldn't reach. You should be able to fill up your holes you have in free agency so you don't have to reach.
100%. And especially you beef up that defensive line. It's going to make it a lot easier on those corners.
Yep.
Because of the pressure and bad throws.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Next up, guys. Pick number 66. Guess what we're doing? We're doubling up again.
Double up.
Donovan Jaxson, guard out of Ohio State. Now, guys, again, I know I'm crazy. I'm doubling up here twice in 4 picks. But here's the beauty of the scenario. We talked about already. Greg Van Roten. He's definitely not the long-term plans because of his age, but we don't even know he's going to be back there next year. So you get Booker in the 1st round. He can be the starter at right guard. Well, guess what, guys? You're still going to need someone to that left side eventually because we overpaid the hell out of John Runyon. So you can take a guy this year that you can develop in another year or so. Guess what? When you don't need John Runyon anymore, he gone.
Bye.
He's one of the highest paid players in this team, guys. He's not one of the highest performing. And we couldn't have expected that. Wasn't that in Green Bay either.
He was your
pass protector.
Yes, he was great pass protector. But he was like that. He was kind of that run-of-the-mill average player that, I mean, which is way better than what we had. So let's not.
But here's what you could say too as well. Like Evan Neal, we talked about him earlier with what he's been doing according to PFF ratings, has an excellent run blocking grade, has a horrible pass blocking grade. And we're saying he's trash. We want rid of him. John Runyon's the same problem, just in reverse, at a different position. I was
going to say the other way around.
And, you and I weren't obviously very high on that signing when we got him in general for that reason, because I don't like paying for top-end talent that's not top-end talent. And that's basically what we did here. But here's the guy who can come in and develop for a year and then take over that spot. Now, he's got an interesting pass, but Bleacher Report will give you another little synopsis of what they gave. They said overall Jaxson hasn't quite lived up to the hype as the nation's best guard coming out of high school, largely to a robotic playing style with some erratic footwork, but has the necessary build, raw strength, and enough movement skills to compete for a job as a rookie and potentially start within his first contract if he continued to tighten up his game from the ground up. If that's not a guy you want to sit down on the bench, get the proper coach on him and see if you can develop him. And I know it sounds weird for a third-round pick. I know it does, especially when we got so many holes. But we got to shore up this offensive line, guys. And this is a guy that can come in, can spot start if somebody gets injured. And we can let somebody like a Bursillo work with him for a year and see if we can fix some of the issues he has. Again, we talked about Evan Neal a moment ago. Evan Neal was not even serviceable in any way, shape, or form the first couple of years of his career. He's been a great run blocker now. Not a good pass blocker, but a very good run blocker. That's Bursillo. I actually have a lot of faith in Bursillo, and I'm telling you right now, if we decide to get rid of Dable, I still want Bursillo here. I like a lot of what he's done. I really do. So, again, you got now 2 guards and 2 defensive tackles. We are fixing the interior of the offensive line here and the defensive line. Now, I know what everybody's going to say.
You crazy.
2 guards. Who are they protecting? We need a goddamn quarterback. We got you covered right here. We got you covered with Jaxson Dart, quarterback at Ole Miss with the 82nd pick in the 3rd round here. This is the pick we got from Seattle. This is the 3rd pick that we got from Seattle this year. Bleacher Report says overall, Jaxson Dart has a good physical skill set to be an effective starting quarterback. His ability to change up the speeds of his passes will translate well to the league. He's more than willing to take the check down underneath. Dart will need time to learn and adapt to an NFL offensive system. Live game reps will potentially be needed to develop his processing quickness. So what does that say? A project quarterback. And that's what he's going to be. He's going to sit on the bench for a year, let a Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, whoever, sit there. And at the end of the year, you have a decision to make. Do I keep this kid around and give him a chance to start? Or do I make him the backup and I go get a new quarterback in this draft? And if you keep him as the backup, he is a very inexpensive backup at a late 3rd round pick.
Correct.
There is no loss there. You said, I don't think in this case here, you go down, trade down. Like I said, we went in this saying we're going to trade down because that's what a lot of people said in the comments section of the last one that we want us to do. So in this option, there was no option for a quarterback. Unless you want to go with Jalen Milroe, to be very frank with you, was there in the 2nd round. I don't like him. The more and more I see this guy, I don't like him.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to take a guy I need to develop, I want to take a guy to develop that actually has an arm. Even as receivers, Milroe, his receivers were looking at him with some of the missed throws he had in that last bowl game there. That's how bad it was. So, like I said, here's a guy you can develop, though. Now, round 4.
To the 4th round we go.
Pick number 102. Johnny Cornelius, offensive tackle out of Oregon. Oh, yes, I'm going to keep on doubling down to this lineman until we get this line fixed, goddammit. Bleach Report says overall, Cornelius has enough size, raw strength, and evolving skills as a pass protector to earn a role as a backup right tackle and eventually become a quality spot starter within his rookie contract. Again, guys, this is a 4th-round pick. I'm not going to sit there and try to sell you this guy as a 4th-round pick is going to become the next Andrew Thomas.
But he could.
But what they're saying here basically is 3rd tackle. That's a very important position for a team. So if we can keep Illuminor, keep Thomas, got Cornelius now, he can replace, Evan Neal. He can replace Josh Azudu as these swing tackles we've been dealing with for the last couple of years. It's not a bad deal. And again, 4th-round pick. I'm not expecting craziness. I'm not expecting everything under the sun. What I am hoping for is the guy who's going to be able to produce when called upon. That's all I'm hoping for. It's a fair request.
That's fair. Yeah.
Again, whenever we do these drafts, if you all have been watching the show on a regular basis, we don't go crazy. We don't expect crazy things at 4th, 5th-round picks. We're not that kind of goofball. We got a 2nd, 4th-round pick that I go over. Pick number 134. Dalen Everett, cornerback out of Georgia. I finally found a corner I was okay with taking.
Let's go.
Finally. Again, this guy though is a day 3 pick. We're not expecting a quality starter here. What we are hoping for is a good depth piece.
Yeah,
Draft Network
Trey Hawkins, 3rd.
Draft Network says overall, Everett's best opportunity of contributing early in the NFL would be in a primarily zone defense where he can use his natural instincts to make plays on the football in the passing game. So that's where we're at. It's a great idea to go ahead and get a guy in here that can contribute and has a skill. Now, Everett's skill, point blank, is he is a guy who is great at processing. He's great at seeing things develop. What he's not good is he doesn't have elite athleticism. He's one of those guys. He's the try-hard guys. Usually when you're on day 3, you get 2 things. You get athletic, but can't put his stuff together, to put it nicely. Or the try-hard guys, the guys who process, see things, mentally it's all there, but they just don't have the physicality. They don't have the, the athletic attributes that you'd like to see in the NFL. This guy definitely falls in that category. But I'll take a sound mind who can make a big play when called upon potentially, because guess what we've been lacking all freaking year? They've been lacking corners that can actually catch the ball. Corners that can make big plays.
Yeah.
And here's the guy who has that potential. Again, as a reservist, I'm not expecting, 5 pick sixes from this guy next year or something like that. But I think he's the guy you put in nickel and dime positions that knows where to go. And that's a key thing there. And because he's not overly athletic, maybe you try to slip him in as a slot corner. Maybe you move, Drew Phillips into the outside. I've heard people talk about that as well. We'll find out. Real quick, guys, we don't want to pause before we get to our next one here because we got a super chat.
Super chat.
Oh, yes. It's time for the disco ball for the super chat. We're doing it. Mandeep Singh says, hire Salad, trade for JJ McCarthy, and draft CB. I don't think that JJ is going to be available personally. I just don't think they're going to get rid of him. But listen, if he's available and you don't have to give up a 1st-round pick and you can get a guy, like a certain guy we talked about in the last episode from Michigan, then listen, you get a top-end corner, you still get your quarterback, then go for it. I'm not big on Saleh unless you're suggesting as a defensive coordinator personally. What's your thoughts, Rob?
I mean, you pretty much hit it in the head. Like McCarthy's probably not going to be there.
I'm not abusive. I didn't hit anybody.
I guess you're also not Carpenter. But yeah, you're talking about corner. Like, depends on what we do. If we're talking about draft down, like. It depends on who we yeah, it is a big need. So like it depends on the position and player available. So yeah, if it's there, but we also don't want to do a Banks repeat and just reach for one.
our last mock draft we did, the last episode was without a trade. We did take, like I said, corner.
Yeah,
we did. We're with you on that one. Need someone to replace back, that's for sure. So
solid, yeah.
Again, thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated, guys.
Yeah.
Next one we got here. We got round five. Pick 154. Jonah Coleman, running back out of Washington. Now, again, y'all know that if you guys have been watching us on a regular basis here, every single mock draft we've done, we've taken every single one, right? We've taken a running back, haven't we?
I think ever, which is Giants.
Well, it's also because we've said it. So you and I are both big fans of what Tyrone Tracy has done this year. Let's be very frank on that. We've been very positive towards him. We're not positive towards much of this team, but Tyrone Tracy has been a steal of a draft pick and a great player on this team. But I still want to build a stable of running backs here, and I don't think Eric Gray is the answer. No. I think he needs to be gone, and I do think that we need to also look at doing a combo, a stable, so to speak, with young players. Turbo Miller could be a guy. We can get him on the field and see what he can do. But it's like I said, you want a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
As David says, I do think Coleman has announced he's returning to college. Well, this is why I said mock drafts, not exactly always the best. But like I said, the position is still there the same either way. So anyway, just in case he does come out, because people do all of a sudden change their mind. Drew, the quarterback from Penn State, there's been rumors he might change his mind actually too. But anyway, Coleman, here's what NFL Draft Buzz says. He says the tape shows a mostly faceted back with 3-down potential at the next level. Coleman's vision, contact balance, and receiving upside project well to modern offenses. His compact frame and improving pass catching ability can make him a valuable chess piece for creative play callers. While not possessing elite breakaway speed, Coleman's burst and power compensate, allowing him to consistently move the chains and wear down defenses. This is what I want in this draft, guys. This is what I want. And I really want to have a running back, again, it's a change of pace. I want thunder and lightning again. And I think Tracy fits the lightning very well. I want me some thunder, goddammit.
This could be your train. This could be like
this could be
the moving wall.
This could be the one. But again, if it's not Coleman, if Coleman is going back and I didn't hear that, then that's very much possible. But like I said, I want to go ahead and say that's more what I mean is the type of player. I want that physical big running back because that's what we're missing here. Real quick, just because we wanted to finish up on the super chat. Singh had Deep Singh had already said also, I mean DC. So yeah, if you mean DC, I'm cool with Salas at DC. Yeah. I'm not upset about that at all. Before we get to our last pick, also, I want to give a shout out there to Big Blue in the Bronx. What up,
What's
fellas?
up, Big Blue?
Up. That's another content creator, guys. If you haven't followed that channel yet, you need to follow it right now. By the way, if you haven't followed us still, you also need to follow us.
100%.
We're on our quest.
And like and subscribe on both these.
Like I said, that's where we're at there. All right, we got one more draft pick here, and we got round 7, 217. Like I said, we have 2 7-round picks right now, but in this scenario, we traded back in the first round. We did have to give up our second, 7th round pick in that trade. So we got round 7, 217. We're getting Cayman Rucker, edge out of North Carolina. Now, I'll be very frank with you all. I did not know much on this kid beforehand. I still don't pretend to be an expert. Even we do our own draft profiles. We did 500 draft profiles. I feel like it felt like last year. We did a ridiculous amount.
To it.
And listen, it comes to 7th round people. It's pick and choose. It's so close to be them undrafted free agents that this is the guy we probably will never even do a full scouting report on. But what I liked about was we hadn't picked an edge rusher yet. This guy was sitting there top of the board. And it had, I looked a little bit tape, looked pretty decent. A nice write up on him there. So Draft Network said, despite his size and length concerns, Rucker touts an intriguing pass rush profile with proven success at a Power 4 programming, evolving his pass rush repertoire and explosiveness off the snap should see him rank near the top of the nation's pressure leaders again this fall. And that was something they wrote up on him before the season even started. And guys, if I can get a guy who can occasionally provide some pass rush in the 7th round, that's a win. And we need to get some edge rushers in here at that point. And it's a move I wanted to make earlier. Again, I didn't force picks. There wasn't somebody available. What kept coming up was linemen, which will help. We need linemen. Bring on the linemen.
Yeah.
And there's some of y'all that know you do mock drafts. It's like 7th rounds of linemen. They go lineman here, lineman there, lineman here, lineman there. And I can't blame you. It's been a thorn in their side for how long? So, like I said, that's it that we get now here. I think that the line is pretty well shored up here. We got 2 interior offensive linemen, 2 defensive tackles right off the bat to start. We got our quarterback that we're going to try to see if he can be the quarterback of the future. We got a depth piece for the offensive line tackle position. We got a depth piece for the secondary. We go ahead and get another running back to throw into the stable, and we go ahead and get an edge rusher that's got some potential to at least provide some pass rush there. I'll take that draft.
Yeah.
So,
especially if like, once again, we build up those trenches. Like that's been one of our biggest downfalls for almost a decade.
Big time. Yeah. All righty, guys, we're going to pay the bills real quick, and then we're going to get to all your comments. So if you haven't put a comment yet and you've been holding back, stop holding back. Put a damn comment up.
Put it in.
You know, like the plug it in.
Kind of.
Plug it in.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. First off, I always end afterward to say, hey, if you haven't already hit the like and subscribe, 3 of y'all have already hit the like and subscribe during this program alone. Thank you to you 3. Anybody who hasn't done it yet, you're slacking. Slack, do it. Give in to peer pressure. Hit that subscribe button. But also, you can also go ahead and, like I said, support the show there, as our new friend here, Mandeep Singh, did with a super chat. You can also go ahead and support the show on Facebook with stars. And like I said, the free way. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. That's how we help evolve the show and grow the goofball community here. We suck at marketing, point blank. We count on y'all to help us out and share it to people that you think might like the program, though. So, again, thank you very much in advance for that. All right, let's get into the comments here. So first off, we started off with Cameron Powell saying, where are you at? I'll take Will Howard in the 4th. And that's another guy we're going to have to do a little write-up on, too. I'm hearing more and more people asking for Will Howard content. So we will definitely do a early scouting
dive
as well. And then here's 2 Giant Goofballs saying, we'll be on in just a moment. Remember to ridicule Rob for starting this. Solving the race problems is it safe to say that Shane is a worse GM than Gettleman? I won't say that only because what he's done on the cap. I don't think he's put us in cap hell, but I could tell you that I'm gonna get ridiculed for saying this. Maybe Rob, tell me if I'm crazy, but Gettleman was a better drafter. Now I will say that this year is the one part where I'm putting the asterisk on it because this was the best class that either one of them had.
Talent seeker. Gettleman reached a lot.
Oh, yes, he did. In free agency, which is why we get in trouble.
Even with the draft a little bit. Like, I think he went a little high with some picks. But
they both reached, though, with picks. That's what I'm saying. So.
Yeah. But
Eric Gray comes to mind. Josh Azu comes to mind. Cordell Flock comes to mind. It's a lot of guys that.
Yeah. Gettleman's definitely better free agent. Well, actually, it's hard to say because they say Shane this year is definitely been his best.
Oh, by far. If he drafted like this every single year, we might have the quarterback part solved, but we'd have a damn good team.
Yeah.
You get 3 or 4 years of this kind of draft, yeah.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito would be looking a lot better.
But I'm just saying in general. I mean, think about what he's got this year. I mean, Neighbors, great player. Newman, he still leads all rookies in tackles. He hasn't played in a couple weeks. Drew Phillips way excelled our expectations at that point. Has been a great slot corner here for us. You got Tracy, obviously, Theo Johnson, even Muasau has actually gone ahead and been a decent contributor when he's been called upon. Like, there's not a single pick that you could be upset on. Not a single one. It's very rare since we've said that, right? I mean, can you imagine what's the last time you're like, this has been a draft that I can't complain about one single player after the rookie year? I can't remember that ever.
Yeah.
That's honestly the biggest reason why if people want to fight for Joe Shane, that's the biggest thing you should be touting.
Yeah.
It's like,
look what he did this offseason.
Look what he did this year. He's got it going now.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that train of thought personally. Because
but I mean, you could also look at like what he did this offseason too, with picking up free agents. Like, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, you go and you pick up, you help revamp this offensive line.
Oh yeah. Well, that's Brasillo, I think. Which again, part of him was signing Brasillo, so I'm not knocking him as far as that. I'm just saying I don't think it's much the players as it was Brasillo. We have a really good offensive line coach, so I want to keep him no matter what happens.
Yeah.
John says, Tardy El Roberto, KT Pasa. What does he mean, KT Pasa? I don't speak Spanish.
Where's the pasta at? It's in the kitchen.
That's not what he means.
It's New Year's Day. I'm supposed to be doing like, hey, like I'm a healthy guy again.
I think. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's with K-Pasa. Solving the race problem says, what a disgrace. Draft over JJ, then look back to trade for him. What a clown show if those rumors are true. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they are.
It's rumors.
I don't think. I think, honestly, it's a bunch of bored sports writers looking for something to talk about. And then here we are. We're talking about it with him now.
Yeah.
We fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. God damn it. But like you said, a lot of you guys have mentioned it, and that's the main reason we're bringing that one up. Derek Romano says Eagles have announced they will be sitting their starters for this coming game versus the Giants, essentially looking to force a Giant win this weekend. Honestly, I don't think they. Okay, there is no conspiracy from the Eagles to help us, win, so we get worse draft positioning. Now, don't get me wrong; it's an added bonus for them. They are definitely not going to be upset to knock us down another peg down this draft board. But they're not like, what we should do? We should play our starters. But we're going to do this just to screw over the Giants.
Yeah.
No, they're trying to be healthy going into the postseason.
No matter what they do,
they're
going to be the second seed in the NFC. Like, there's nothing they can do to change that. Like, if you're going into this and then with the possibility of being the number one, that's a different ball game. That's a different
possibility of losing the division, which they would have had if they had lost last week against the Cowboys.
Yeah, so like that's something like you could talk about, but like at this point, there's nothing they could do different that's going to take them away from that 2 seed.
Yep.
So why take the chance of Jalen Hurts tearing his ACL or having Barkley roll his ankle? Like you're about to go into the playoffs. A really good spot. You're probably going to play at the 2 seed. You're probably playing Green Bay, and it's probably a good look for you guys.
Yeah.
Like, why take the chance of hurting someone?
By the way, another new subscriber. Thank you, whoever just hit that subscribe button. It's never too late. It's like learning to read.
Yeah, I'm hooked on phonics.
Davey says, ask Detroit about Hendon Hooker. Listen, we've been saying that basically, for a while now. We want a Hendon Hooker in that draft. And, unfortunately, we didn't get him. But my thing is, I don't know where Detroit's on with Hooker because they say all the things publicly very nice, as most teams do. Like, no team goes, well, yeah, we have this guy. He sucks. We don't really want him here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody says that kind of stuff publicly. But I do find it a little curious that they brought in state high school football coach champion Teddy Bridgewater to go ahead and be their backup quarterback now. Because those who haven't heard, he literally went back to high school as a football coach. got his alma mater to the state championship, won a championship, and then went right back into the NFL. He's going to go back coaching. Like, he's already said that. He's going to coach again next year. But he's willing to go back, and he went back to the Lions. He's now the primary backup for this postseason. So would you make that kind of move if you're so sure on Hooker? Which makes you think, okay, maybe Hooker will be available. But then you go, wait a minute. If they don't want him, why do we?
It's a little tricky, especially when you talk about Hooker.
Most people hookers are tricky. They're known for their trick.
I mean, just pay them up front, 50-50 up front, 50% up front, 50% after. Indeed.
Is that how it works?
Anyway,
I've never been to one. Thank you for clarifying, everybody.
Yeah. No, but when we talk about Hooker, like
that's not how it works. How does it work, Rob?
That's not. Anyway, when you talk about Hendon Hooker, right? You come in, you don't know if he's NFL ready. He had really good college tape. You don't know if he's NFL ready with the injury. He sits back there. You have Goff, who's this year has played lights out. Like, how can you get rid of him? Like, the past couple years since Goff has been there, he's a top 5 quarterback. How do you put him? How do you put a rookie in or a guy that hasn't proved himself with a guy that's been fantastic? It makes no sense. Now you're going to the playoffs. You're too busy thinking about Hooker.
Look, he's at the bottom of the screen.
You don't pay for something you get for free.
I said once.
Still don't pay for something you get for free. Anyway.
You can get it for free. They wouldn't be a hooker.
Well, I can get it for free.
Not from that one.
Oh.
I said
there was that one time.
I did not recently.
There was that one time.
At band
she
game?
paid me. Anyway. Now you got this guy that's never you have this guy that's never played in the NFL. You're playing lights out football. You're going into the playoffs. You probably want a guy that you know what he is in the NFL. You don't know what Hooker is in the NFL. You don't. So, yes, you've sat there with the practice with him. Like, you probably want to be at your top of the game where you are as the Lions. So, like, it's like
I get it. You're getting a veteran who knows the playbook because you played there last year. I get all of that. I just feel like there had to be a pause on their end. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were very confident about Hendon Hooker being your backup, you wouldn't make this move.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I wouldn't want Hooker. What I'm saying is it makes me pause. But the other thing is you run into, this is another JJ McCarthy situation. We mentioned JJ obviously was a first-round pick. Hendon Hooker was a third-round pick. It wasn't like you got him in a sixth-round pick or something like that. So it's like you've had him. He hasn't really played for you. So what do you give up to get him? And
he was projected to be like first round, but he fell back.
Yeah, the ACL injury, so he fell back. And he's, I don't know. I feel like if you can get him cheap, I'm all for it. But we talk. Okay, let's do this one, okay? Because we're going to talk more about this guy in a minute. If you can grab Dart with a third-round pick or trade your third-round pick for Hendon Hooker, who would you get? Because that's what you're talking about doing, basically, giving up the chance to get a mid-round quarterback potentially.
You probably go Dart.
And that's what the whole point of what I'm making is.
Yeah.
And I like Hooker. Like I said, I was a big fan of him coming out. I was screaming. We were on our live show. I was screaming for it, for us to go ahead and draft him. I remember that very vividly. But, that's what happens sometimes is you don't get them. They sit for a couple of years, and you just, you go ahead and move on. And you say, that's not the person for me. And that's what crumbles. And that's something would happen sometimes. So, we just decided, it's not to get him. And we decided not to do that. So he's now gone to the Lions. He's going to be a Lion for a couple of years. Maybe in a couple of years, if he doesn't play and we're still in this boat, we go ahead and get him. But I don't think they give him up really cheap. And that's my issue. If you want to give up really cheap,
Yeah.
like a 5th-round pick, hell yeah, let's get him. Let's bring him in, an extra body in there. But I don't know. I don't see it happening personally. G537 says, I'm not giving a first for JJ. Yeah, me neither. Not a 4th overall pick, especially. Not going to happen. I didn't think it was worth it last year, and obviously the Giants didn't either. John says, so we're going to get a guy who had doubts before, and now he's got a leg issue repaired or not. Yeah. That's
it's silly talk.
Yeah. And that's JJ McCarthy summed up right there. Like, you never even seen him play. Now he's coming off major injuries. He had multiple surgeries on. Yeah. Like I said, this is why we're not pro it. Derek says, the Jets would look even worse if Darnold were to play for the Giants next season and be successful. Oh, that's a good, I didn't think about that. Imagine rubbing it on
really funny
fans' faces. Ooh, I would love that. I would absolutely love that, guys. Let's see. John says, did you say Elvis? Elvis Presley forever? No, Elvis Gerback. You remember Elvis Gerback, John. I know you're old enough to remember him too, just like us. He says maybe Patriots coach should go get a massage, get some dirt on Robert Kraft. And G537 says done. That's I believe as far as talking about subscribing to the channel. So much appreciated, man. Like I said, we're on that quest. We need 52 more subscribers. 52.
It's so close.
There are 60 people watching on YouTube right now. So I'm just saying, you guys could help us get there.
Please hit that button.
I know they're gonna stop watching. This guy won't stop. That's this subscribing.
Yeah.
Tim says, I wouldn't waste my 1st-round pick on a quarterback. We need to put the team together first. Best player available. I agree with you, but I also think when you say best player available, that there is value of the position that goes into that as well. When we said it before the show, you wouldn't take the best punter with the 1st overall pick, right?
No, but usually you find the top
the football field. You wouldn't take him 1st overall.
You usually find the most talented quarterbacks in the 1st round.
And again, we've said it before, mid to late, but that's both probably because they're going to better situations than the guys are going with the top 5 picks. Part of it, at least.
Yeah.
Let's see. TD Midas says, 1st for JJ, F no, a 2nd we can entertain. You know what? I think I would entertain a 2nd.
I probably would, yeah.
I would entertain. I don't even know if I would do that, even to be honest with you guys, but I would entertain it at the very least, because it becomes a situation of, would you rather have him or a guy like Dart? Same as the setup. Instead of reverse with the hooker, I'll say with him. And I think there's more of I don't know which one I want. Now it's a question.
Yeah, I mean, I would entertain the idea.
But I'm saying, I feel like when you talk trade, that's what you have to talk about at this point is, would I rather have this person or this guy that I can get at that pick if I just sit there?
Which, once again, obviously we thought Penix Jr. was going to come to us in the 2nd round.
We were hoping.
But that did not happen. So to say, 100%, Dart's going to be there in the 3rd round for us.
You don't know.
Crazier things have happened.
You don't know.
So you have to be confident, of if you're going to get this guy in the draft, or you're really confident about JJ.
Oh, yeah.
And he's worth 2nd pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John says, send it to John Mara. We will send this mock draft to John Mara.
Yeah.
David said, we already gave the Vikings Daniel Jones. It's only right they give us JJ in return.
I don't think that's how it works, but that's
the worst trade ever for them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Get their GM fired. And David said, I do. That's what we talked about already. He said about that. Let's see here. John says, I forgot. Happy New Year's Eve to y'all. Drew Roberto. I love you. You guys are family to me. You've been there for me. My own family has to thank you. Like I said, man, we've said in the past, we don't want this to just be a regular show. We all just sit chit-chatting football and, ask for things from you. Because let's be honest, we're going to ask things like subscribing, money, things like that, because we do this for free. But what I love about this is there's a lot of people, and John, you're one of them, that we see here on a regular basis, like every single show. I see Deb further on down the comments as well. She's another, obviously, we see her pretty much every episode as well. And I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of y'all, even though we never met face to face or anything. I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of y'all. We'll have to do, like, next time I'm up to Jersey, what we should do, Rob, is do a live show somewhere. And I don't want to say meet and greet, because that like establishes that we're some kind of celebrity. We're not a celebrity. I don't want to make it seem like that. But
go to like a McCaffrey's or like some kind of pub in the area that's hosting football.
We'll see if we can find a spot maybe in like northern-ish central Jersey, if that makes sense. So it's easy.
But depending on where you're talking about, like central Jersey's, if you
I say northern-ish, like somewhere where it's easy for people to get to, whether it's by train, people come to New York and stuff like that. But someplace like, I was even thinking more north, like I don't know, Edison or a place like that, like someplace easy central to get to. But like I said, maybe we'll do something, because I think that'd be fun. I don't know when I'm going to be up again next. This last one was a quick one because I had family graduating, but like I said, maybe we can do something. That'd be kind of fun. So let's see. Matthew says, would Justin Fields ever be an option? Hell's yes, and we've talked about it.
Yep.
We definitely have. It depends on what the Steelers do, because they're not going to keep both him and Russell Wilson. But I think either one of those is an option for a bridge quarterback. And Justin Fields, I think, gives you something more than a bridge. A bridge with the potential to be a very long bridge.
The youth.
He's got it. He is still young enough. If you could, and he played pretty well here this year. So again, if you can get a guy like him,
highly good offensive line.
Yeah. Well, suspect offensive line. Let's be honest. The Steelers don't have the best. They have some issues. Better than ours, but that's not saying much.
Well, he also came from the Bears.
The Bears.
God awful.
He's got a lot of history running around, so he'll fit right in.
Yeah.
Kodiak says Neighbors is likely to leave us in free agency in a few years. Why not trade him at peak value this offseason? Well, because first off, it's not peak value. His rookie year is not peak value. Now, it's a gamble when I say that, but I still think he's going to continue to grow. And I think you'll see probably next year, like, let's be honest, he'll probably get like close to 1,100 yards this year, assuming he actually is part of the, part of the plan to be used on Sunday. He'll probably get 1,400 yards next year, both because he's going to progress and get better as a player, but because also hopefully he actually stays healthy.
Yeah, he missed what, 3 games this year?
He's I want to say 2 or 3. I don't know the exact off the top of my head there, but he's definitely missed a couple. He's also had a couple. He's been, not exactly in the best of shape there either at that point, where he's kind of like questionable. Bless you there.
Thank you. Oof.
So like I said, I'm not afraid of a guy leaving that's still got 4 more years of team control. Personally, a lot can change in 4 years. So hopefully by then we have a quarterback. That'd be nice. Rocky Fresh, that man says Gordon would be a nice pickup. Is it bad that because I've been drinking so much of these things lately, I saw Ali Pop at first? Remember the Ali Pop sodas? My wife's been a kick of those. They're okay-ish. They're okay, but yeah. Again, we haven't done a lot of our work yet on the draft people, so I'm not going to sit there and pretend that we know everything write-up wise on them. Gordon obviously is a very young player, a guy with a lot of promise. But again, I don't want to sit there and say I'm an expert on him yet because we haven't done that yet. So keep an eye out. Like I said, once the season's up, we're going to start breaking down some things in free agency and stuff like that. Once that initial free agency time period is up, that's when Rob and I would be pumping out draft content like you would not believe. We usually do 10 to 20 prospects an episode, basically for a month and a half.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we pump through a lot of players. Rocky says, if we win this Sunday, we are clearly out of the top 2 quarterback race. How do you address our QB situation? Well, first off, I would say we're not out of the race yet. We're out of the race without a trade-up, that's for sure. But we talked about it on the show just yesterday. I do think that Shedeur Sanders wants to come here. My personal opinion. You don't put the cleats on. I shouldn't put them on, but you don't put them in your locker.
Yeah.
You don't go ahead and play catch in a very, very visible place in downtown New York City with Malik Neighbors, unless you want to be a Giant.
You don't have your your dad, who's like known around all of the NFL, saying, "Yeah, he'll go to New York and play."
Yeah. Like I personally think he wants to play for New York, and I think personally that there's a good chance that if we can't get him flat out, that we will trade up to get him. It's just my own personal opinion on that. And the Giants, they've been hearing all offseason, they love him, they want him there. But we have to see what happens first off with their own, front office there. Do we even keep Joe Shane? If we do, or keep Brandon Brown, if he make him the GM, then yeah, I wouldn't shock me at all if we find a way to trade for him. But worst case scenario, we're going back to 9. You could still move up from 9 to 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. You're just gonna have to give up something to get it. That's all.
You're gonna have to give a block, but at that point, if you think that's your dude, go get him.
Yep. Now, again, if we can't get somebody, let's say hypothetically like that, we can't get Sanders or Ward, and I would do we did this mock draft. I would go get a mid-round guy like a Dart. Like a Dylan, somebody like that. Dylan Gabriel. I think somebody like that would be either one of those two. Like that kind of pick would be a great way to go. But I would still want to go get an actual quarterback in free agency. Well, a guy like Justin Fields mentioned earlier, perfect bet because you can sign him to an option where you get him for a couple of years, and you can get out of after 2 years.
Yeah, you get him fairly cheap.
And he wants to go start somewhere. You're going to give him the opportunity to start there. Not everybody's going to give him that opportunity. So
yeah,
that's what I would do personally. Let's see here. Deb says Giants will keep Shane and Dable. You heard it here. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think they want to. I think that public image is the only thing that's going to stop it. And that's why I've been saying all along. I want fans to flip out as much as possible. That's the one thing John Mara hates. It's being hated.
Yeah.
Really does. Andre says, good evening. Greetings from Brazil. Happy New Year's. Hoping for better days in New York. Yes, us as well. And obrigado for watching from Brazil. Oh, yes. I'm breaking up the Portuguese here. Yes. Oh, yes.
They speak Brazilian, right?
The Brazilian Portuguese. It's Portuguese.
Yeah. Well, it's different.
Yeah, I know that, but obrigado is how you say thank you. Yeah,
I got you. I won't break your balls.
Stop breaking my balls, damn it!
I break your balls.
Rocky says wanted Cam, but we might have to wait until 26 for our QB. We'll see. I'm not going to get any ups or downs as far as the possibilities until we go ahead and find out what happens on Sunday. That's what happened. Mr. BS, guys, do you think Darnold McCarthy would even allow the Vikings to send him here after listening to DJ for the past few weeks? Honestly, I don't think DJ's talking trash about us. No. I don't think he's that person. I really don't. And maybe I don't think he has a glowing review, don't get me wrong. But I don't think he's the person who's going to play the blame game. Unless he's completely different behind closed doors than he is in front of open doors. But if you listen to the way guys talk about him, he is what he is. He's a nice, solid dude.
Yeah, he sounds very humble, and I'm sure he's going to be talking about, some of the bad times, but I think he's going to talk more of the good times.
Oh, yeah.
And, things he could have done better.
See, John says, sounds cool to me. I think he's talking about us doing the live thing. Like I said, we should do that. We should. That'd be fun. Reese Anderson, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Let me know if I'm not. I hate if I don't pronounce names correctly. He says, if we win on Sunday or if Sanders and Ward could pick 2 and 3, I wouldn't mind if we signed Darnold. He's having a career year and only would be 28. I would be okay with signing Darnold if we had the option of signing Darnold, hypothetically. First off, we got to see what happens to him and the Vikings. Only if it's a situation like we had, and this is going to be a bad comparison, guys. I know I'm going to get slammed for saying this. A contract like we gave DJ, meaning we can get after 2 years. We have an insurance policy if he sucks. Because we don't know, again, if this was a fluke or if this is what we should expect from Darnold's beginning. But keep in mind, guys, out of that draft, Baker Mayfield was not the guy. Darnold was the guy. Everybody was shocked the Browns didn't take Darnold overall. Everybody was shocked the Giants didn't make a trade. Somebody else can move up to 2 to get Darnold. And the Jets were happy to go ahead and get Sam Darnold at pick number 3.
Yeah.
They could not believe it. And then they messed him up.
Point blank.
And they sent him to the Panthers, who messed him up even further. So it is what it is. But yeah.
Or fix him.
I'm not against it. No, the Panthers didn't fix him. The Niners and Vikings did.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm definitely a pro Darnold if you get the option to get him and on a team-friendly contract. I don't mind putting the risk up for a year or two, especially if we can't get a top-flight quarterback. And we think that, in the draft, I should say top-flight quarterback in the draft, and we think that Darnold is better than who we can get. Yeah, you should get him. But you got to protect yourself just in case it was a fluke. Mr. BS, Giants get Gentry and some holes filled and get Manning the following year. I hate the whole waiting, though. That's my whole problem. Is that I feel like I've been waiting forever for a good team. I'm tired of waiting.
Tom Petty says it. Waiting's the hardest part.
Yeah. No, oh gosh. But, you also don't know what's going to happen in this year. What happens all of a sudden? Some of the guys have a great year and we become an 8-8 team or an 8-9 or 9-8 team. I keep forgetting 17 games. But what happens if something like that happens? And now you're at the mid-first round. You can't trade up to get a guy because no one's going to give up this first or second overall pick because they love the quarterbacks. That's the problem you run into. You can't just wait till next year and just hope the guy's there. Yeah. That's the problem. So, Reese says also Justin Fields, I would be happy if we signed him. He's only 25 and probably would have motivation to revive his young career and prove the haters wrong. Not disagreeing at all. And let's just be clear, we should still fire, all in caps, Dable, regardless, just for ruining our draft position for 2 straight years. We should just fire him just for being him. Point blank. I also says 2-13, and you finally decided to have a competent offense when your position was the number 1 pick. Yeah. Trust me, we're all right there with you, man.
Yeah.
He says this is because the MO of Dable. And let's see, Hirsch for real says, hello, Giants need to lose on Sunday and move heaven and earth to draft Cam Ward. And I'll tell you guys, we did on our YouTube page, we did a poll on what you'd want us to do with the 4th overall pick. Options were draft or trade up for Sanders, draft or trade up for Ward, draft cornerback Will Johnson, or trade down and collect picks. 46% of y'all said draft or trade up for Ward. So he definitely seems pretty popular amongst y'all. 23% for Sanders, 18% for trade down, and 13% for Will Johnson. Poor Will Johnson. Let's see here. He also says, and all this bullcrap on it's impossible to tank. There's a thing called sitting your starters. Maybe table tries sometimes. The problem is these guys fighting. He's fighting for his job. They're all fighting for the jobs. That's the problem. Rocky Fresh says, who do you like more, Ewers or Dart? I'm kind of honestly either one of them. I don't think is a bad mid-round guy. It's just not a guy I want early on. So, but great question because guess what time it is, guys? It's time for early scouting report on Jaxson Dart here. Ooh. Oh, look at that segue that you didn't even know you were giving us here. So same as like I said, we did a whole episode there about a month ago, I'm guessing now, with Dash and Big Dash Knows, where we went over, I think, about 7 or 8 different quarterbacks. And one of the ones we didn't include was Dart. And a lot of people kept asking us our opinion on him. So let's get into it here. So Jaxson was born in Kaysville, Utah back in 2003. He started high school at Roy High School, which sounds weird. It sounds like I know Roy could be a last name as well, but it just sounds like you named somebody. Like, imagine, like, who is this? Oh, this is Jim High School. High School Jim? No, it's Jim. Jim's the name. Anyway, Roy High School for 3 years before transferring to Corner Canyon High School in Draper, Utah for his senior season. Hoping I'm fine. Draper, I don't know. That year he threw for 4,691 yards, 67 touchdowns, which was a state record and still is. With only 4 interceptions. He also rushed for 1,195 yards and 12 touchdowns. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year and Max Prepp's National Player of the Year. He was also a 2-time All-State third baseman as well in high school. So 2-sport athlete there. He trained with former ASU quarterback Taylor Kelly in Tempe and received an offer from Arizona State. So everybody just kind of anticipated he'd go there, but instead he opted for USC. So his freshman year, He was the backup for Keaton Clovis. Some of you guys remember him. He did go in the draft a couple of years ago. Ended up playing 6 games that season. So 6 games, 3 starts. Went 117 for 189, so a 61.9 completion percentage, 1,353 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 22 rushes, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns there as well. After 21, the USC brought in Lincoln Riley to be their new head coach. And at that point, everybody kind of knew that Caleb Williams was coming along. The rumors started immediately. So he transferred over to Ole Miss. In 22 was 8-5 record overall, 13 games, 222 for 362. It's a 62.4 completion percentage, 2,974 yards, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 128 rushes for 614 yards and 1 touchdown. That's a lot of rushing yards. First off, let me just be first to assure you guys if you can't figure that out. That's like that's like keep on 13 games is what that is. So you're talking like in NFL standards, that's like 750 rushing yards. That's a lot of rushing yards from the quarterback position. But what it tells you is he was jumpy. He's probably moving out of the pocket quickly. He wasn't quite comfortable yet doing the offense and all. Now, 23, team goes 11-2. Had a bad record. 226 for 362, so 62.4 completion percentage, 2,974 yards, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 100. Oops, I went off to the wrong one here. Hold on. 233 for 358 for 65.1 completion percentage, 3,364 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 119 rushes for 389 yards, 8 touchdowns. You notice what happened there. Completion percentage went up, yards went up, touchdowns went up, rushing went down. That's one thing I love to see in a young quarterback. It shows me he's getting comfortable in the pocket, and he wants to be a thrower. I have no problem, guys. Again, those who watch the show on a regular basis, I got no problem with a running quarterback. But I have a problem with a run-first quarterback.
100%.
You don't win that way. You don't. And if you do, you don't win a championship usually that way. Ask Lamar Jackson. Not trying to be rude about it. Just saying. You don't typically win that way. The only guy I can think of off the top of my head that I can say is a mobile quarterback that won rings. I mean, you can talk about like the guys like Patrick Mahomes, obviously, Steve Young. You can go into even Russell Wilson. But they weren't run first.
No.
The Randall Cunninghams, Michael Vicks, the Lamar Jacksons, they're fun to watch, and they're still great players. I'm not trying to knock them, but they haven't proven that you can win a championship that way yet.
No, because, I mean, a lot of defenses, like, if they know you're a run first, like, look what happened to Kaepernick when they were in the Super Bowl. They find out you're a run first. Guess what? You just kind of set a spy on the quarterback, and you shut down his game.
Yeah. Well, you also open up a receiver potentially that way as well. And that's part of the problem you run into is you need a guy who can take advantage of that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you run first, you're not looking down the field for a receiver. Normally, you're taking the spy to take off your wide 4 if they're out there, wide 3, and then go from there. So typically, if you get the run first, they're looking at their 1-2, and then they're going for a run.
A 1-2?
A 1-2. A 1-2.
What you gonna do? I got a little Limp Bizkit on my head now. Anyway, 24, 9-3 record for the team. So he was 249 of 363. It's a 68.6 completion percentage, 3,875 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 112 rushes, 452 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Again, completion percentage up, yards up, touchdowns up. I love seeing that. That shows me improvement over time. Now, again, his completion percentage is better every year. He learned to get more comfortable in the pocket. Things that are positive that you want to see. What that tells me is he's probably coachable, and he hasn't necessarily peaked yet. I love seeing those kind of things out of a guy in a mid-round quarterback.
Let's say, especially this late.
Yeah. So here's what we also have to mention, though. This past season, much of his stats were against the worst passing defenses he faced and lower tier teams. He had 5 touchdowns against Furman. I couldn't even tell you where the hell Furman is.
Vermin, they're in the woods.
4 touchdowns against Georgia Southern. Now I can tell you where that one is. He had 6 touchdowns versus Arkansas, which is literally the worst pass defense in the entire SEC. That's 15 of his 25 touchdowns in those 3 games. That's a very high percentage there. That means the other 9 games, he did 10 touchdowns. That's a concern for me.
Yeah.
That's like saying I'm the Kayvon Thibodeau of college quarterbacks. I just beat up on crappy teams.
Which,
not to stick on him. It's just it's an observation.
It's nice stat-wise. But when you're playing a good team, you want a quarterback that's going to throw it down the field and get you some touchdowns instead of getting 57 yards.
And listen, anytime you take the worst, the weakest opponents off anybody's stat sheet, it's not going to help them, obviously. But that's a dramatic difference, guys. That's a really dramatic difference there. Here's some pros and cons that Bleacher Report gave us here on him. Possesses above average arm strength with multiple arm slots. Understanding of when to throw with use, velocity, and touch. Functional athlete with good size, build, play extender. Throws in the move and outside the pocket with a quick snappy release. Their negatives they gave. Slower mental processing, reading defenses post-snap. Less than ideal anticipatory thrower from the pocket. Mechanics and throwing efficiency declines with pressure bearing down. And Ole Miss offense provides isolated QB-friendly reads, not a pro-style system. Here's my biggest concerns. If you just look at the 3 of the 4 negatives, the first 3. Slow mental processing, less than ideal anticipated thrower, mechanics and throwing efficiency declines with pressure. Who does that remind you of?
Oh, it's like a guy we just got sent over to the Vikings.
Reminds me a hell of a lot of Daniel Jones, guys. Reminds me a hell of a lot of Daniel Jones. Now, here's the differences, though, between Daniel Jones and Dart. Daniel Jones with the 6th overall pick. Dart was somebody we're talking about getting late day 2, early day 3. That's the difference. If you could told me, because we all flipped out, let's be very frank, we all flipped the hell out when we got with the 6th overall pick and took Daniel Jones. I wanted Allen really bad. I thought that was a slam dunk pick, and you can go get your quarterback later on. But let's say hypothetically, we had drafted Daniel Jones in the 3rd round. Would you have been upset?
No, because I mean you're paying him a lot less, and then you don't have. I mean, granted, we would have paid him, but he also probably would have asked for a lot less because if you're, your asking price is a little different.
It's not about the asking price. It's like you wouldn't have been felt forced and compelled to keep playing him to validate your pick.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. Like he would have been gone long ago.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So, like, you get it after year 3. So, you get Dave and Shane coming in here. They may have never started DJ, which means they would have never paid DJ, which means we would have talked about something else beforehand.
Yeah.
Which changes everything.
And that's why I'm saying, if he was a 1st round pick, I would be so off on Dart. It's not even funny. If you're telling me I can get him late day 2, early day 3, yes. Hell's yes. If you're telling me you can get him, you're going to take him in the 2nd round, I'm going to question that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where he's going to go. He's going to go 2nd, 3rd, 4th. He's going to go somewhere in that range. It all depends on how things go and progress between now and April, obviously. You still got, another 4 months to go before this draft. But that's, again, if you can get him at the right spot and you can let him sit for a year, because, again, like they said, it's not a pro-style offense. He's in at Ole Miss. Let him sit behind somebody for a year. Next year, evaluate if you think you can start with him or if you need to go ahead and get another quarterback and he's your backup.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad move. But if you get him too early, that's where it becomes a bad move real quick, and you got Daniel Jones 2.0. That's a really bad idea.
Very bad.
Really bad. All righty. We got just a couple comments real quick, and then we're going to get on out of here, guys. We've been an hour and 35 minutes there, much longer than we usually do. But, again, we've had a lot of people on here. Well, we appreciate you guys for coming on. And we want to make sure we get to all your comments. You guys took the time out to do that. By the way, we still got time. Just hit that subscribe button, guys. We still do. Subscribe. Let's see here. Reese says, I say we draft the second best receiver after Hunt or the best offensive tackle if quarterbacks aren't available. I'm not opposed to that, but I don't want to reach. And that's my biggest thing. I don't like ever saying, if we don't get this person, we should take that position. You take the best person available. You do throw draft, position into the whole mix at that point, as far as if it makes sense to take a quarterback over a punter, like that kind of scenario. That's what we do. You take the guy based on positional value and based on ability, and you don't reach. So, see, Hirsch says, if we beat Eagles and drop to 9, not drafting a quarterback at that spot, go PPA and hope Jalen Milroe is still there in round 2. Not a Milroe guy myself, man. Not personally. Now, if he drops to round 3, and I can sit him, develop him for a year or 2, maybe. But I don't want to have to wait long, and I feel like he's a project.
He's a project.
Not just a project, project.
Ooh, double project.
Reese says, I don't want nothing about the defensive end from Texas. Graham, I don't care. He only has like 3 sacks last year. If we use our first round pick on him, I swear I'm divesting from this team. Yeah, honestly, you see that kind of stuff every year, though. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't, but I'm with you. I like seeing some productivity in college. Rocky Fresh says, I watched a lot of Milroe games. He is not a good quarterback. Athletic, yes. Passer, no. Yes. Reese says, they say Milroe has a worse arm than Richardson. It's a hard pass. I'd rather take Alar in the second or third. Well, he's going back to Penn State as well. Again, we'll have to see what happens if Drew does stay. True his word, but he said he's going to go back. Rocky Fresh says, I like Alar. He's staying, though. Yeah. But again, we got to see what happens. Reese says, well, guys, as bleak as it's looking right now, it's always been worse. We could be the Jets and haven't won since the 60s. Damn straight. Damn straight. Yeah. All righty, guys. On that note, we're going to call it a night as we get another subscriber. Another one. Appreciate it, guys. 51 more with you. That's it. Just saying. Appreciate you guys for watching here today. We'll be back again tomorrow, guys. Again, tomorrow we're going to do our long-awaited episode on candidates to replace Joe Shane as GM next year, assuming the Giants do the smart thing and move on. Like I said, we're gonna have 7 guys that we're gonna go over in that. So got a good number of candidates here from some winning teams, some guys that make a lot of sense based on what they've done in their resume. And we're also gonna go over, of course, with you guys, our picks next week as well. Our final full season picks episode here. We will continue doing picks for the postseason as we always do. Don't get me wrong, but obviously there's not nearly the number of postseason games as there are regular season. So if you haven't already, again, hit that like, hit that subscribe, tell a friend. Appreciate you guys for watching. As always, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. Episode drops right around 5 o'clock there to get you that morning run over to work. That's on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there, guys. So if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe to that as well, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts so that way people know that you love the show. If you don't love the show, just stay quiet. Don't say anything. Again, we're back again tomorrow night. We'll see you guys then. We'll also be there Sunday, game day, for live play-by-play of the Eagles-Giants matchup there, as well as also giving you guys our post-game reaction show, which will hopefully be us saying, well, we lost and we hope to. We'll find out. So we'll see you guys again tomorrow night, again, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, Giant fans,
go Giants!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please.